Big topic is forgiveness. A lot of people want to talk about forgiveness. When I say forgiveness, you think about being forgiving, right? But that's really two words: for and giving. For and giving. If you want to think about it in its opposite, the opposite would be for getting. Nobody wants to be forgetting, right? You want to be forgiving. Forgiving is the key to abundance in your life. So you need to be for it. What does that mean? Be about giving. Well, it's not hard to look for opportunities to give. And if you have this mindset, you can start to look around in your world and discover opportunities to give everywhere. I'll give you an example. Why don't I tell you a really quick story that sums it up? I was in North Carolina, and my wife and my two little kids, we were out driving one day, and I stopped at a store, and I met this gentleman named Solomon. Now, Solomon was a wise old man in his late 50s. He had long gray dread hair, and his eyes were both kind of grayed out, glossed over, because he was blind. He literally could not see. In the store, I got a chance to talk to Solomon, and Solomon had let me know how his family had just lost their family car. Total destroyed. It was no longer functioning. And as soon as he mentioned this, as soon as this wise blind man I met at a store named Solomon mentions that his car is now no longer functioning, something came to my mind. He needs a car. If only somebody would give this guy a car, help him get a car, him and his family could be back at it. So I go my separate ways with Solomon. I drive home, and the whole day, the whole rest of the day, even into that evening, I'm like, who can give this guy, how could I help this guy get a car? Well, I had two cars. My wife had one. I had one. We don't need two. We used to. It was very convenient. Trust me, right? Everybody likes to have their own vehicle. I'm like, well, here's an opportunity to give somebody something that needs it much more than I do. So I talked to my wife at the time, and we agreed that we would pack up this Mazda 6. Zoom, 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 right? And we packed this car up. Beautiful burgundy car, tan leather interior, V6. I just put new rims on it. I just got new tires on it. I got it all tuned up. I got it all cleaned up, prepped up, and ready to give to Solomon and his family. Now, let me tell you about the ride over to give the car to Solomon. I've got my children, and they're in the back with my wife in the minivan, right? It has a sliding doors, makes it so easy to get in and out of. So they're behind me. I'm driving the Mazda over to Solomon's house. Now, the drive to Solomon's house was in the backwoods of North Carolina. You took a dirt road to get back to a mud road to take the mud road back into a trailer park. And in the trailer park, you went 3 or 4 dirt roads back to finally get to Solomon's single wide. And I knocked on the door, and a friend or a relative of Solomon opens up. I now learned it's his daughter. And as I look in, there's his wife, his daughters too, their children. There's like 5 or 6 people deep into this single wide home. And I say, is Solomon home? Solomon's home, and he comes out, and I said, Solomon, you remember me, Brent? And he goes, absolutely, I remember you. How can I help you? I said, well, actually, I want to do something for you guys. Can you step out into the driveway? And he steps out, and I tell them, I have a car for you guys. I want to give my car to you. And I hand his wife an envelope with a little gold ribbon on it, and on the inside is the title. I signed over the title to him. I handed them the keys, and as soon as I hand them the keys, the entire family, you never know what kind of response you're going to get. Like, are they going to say, "Oh, this is too good to be true," or this is overwhelming, or you don't know what. But tears are always a good response when something is overwhelming. So, mom starts to cry, the daughter starts to cry. I learned later that the daughter told me that she could now take her children to and fro to school. They could go get groceries. There was no delivery coming out to that neck of the woods. I can tell you that, right? So as I hand them the car, I'm giving them the tour of the vehicle. I'm showing them around, and their life literally it was like watching someone breathe in life. So when you're forgiving and you have the mindset of being forgiving, every sort of opportunity will arise. All of a sudden, the light will shine on opportunities for you to be for the giving process. So when we say we're to forgive one another, we're really supposed to be forgiving one another what they need in order to live and have their way. Later on, I remember driving down the road, and I was in a different vehicle, and I'm driving, and I recognized that beautiful burgundy six with the little spoiler on the back, and that little Mazda was rolling right in front of me. And as I drove by, they didn't recognize me, but me and my children, my wife looked in that car, and there were smiles on all five of them in every seat in that car, and it was something. It did something to my heart. Now, how does that turn into abundance? Well, when you have this attitude of giving, it opens up the floodgates for it to come to you, because it's like a principle, a law, or a value in nature. If it comes to you and it goes through you, then more will come to you, so more can move through you, right? Some people call that living water, meaning when something comes to you, it can flow and move through you. And what's interesting about flow in your life is if you let a little flow through you, the next time it doesn't go the same volume, more will flow through you. The next time you give, the more will flow through you. So you can never outpace the flow of the receiving, the getting. And as long as you don't forget, you're not forgetting, just holding it, you're forgiving, more will flow through. Let me give you an example. When I gave that car, within a year and a half, I had three cars, two Porsches and a Genesis, a brand new Genesis, right? So beautiful cars. All of that flows through me. I had another opportunity to give another car while I was here in Indiana. So what I'm getting at is there's a point when, as long as you don't forget that you've been given it as well, then you can allow things to flow through your life. All your skills, you can give your time, you can give your talent, you can give your treasure, and more will flow through you. Being an abundant person isn't about how much you have and how much you get and retain. Living in abundance is how much you give and how much you allow to flow through you. A true sign of wealth isn't that you've accumulated things and money, it's your ability to let it go and give it away. Think about this for a second. Like, who's wealthier, a man who has the $1 million, or a person who can give $1 million? You would have to assume if somebody can give the million that they've got more to give, right? So there's a flow of abundance that's a principle that many wealthy individuals understand very well. Take out the greedy people, right? Take people out who just living in a life of greed, because you can amass great money in greed, but it never lasts because it's not flowing. It stops and it's just forgetting. And people that are greedy, they forget that it was first given to them in the first place. This cycle is never ending. You can never outgive the giving process of being for giving. If you don't trust me, I'll challenge you in something. Try it for yourself.